It's 11 minutes now past 8 o'clock on this Monday morning. Cold but sunny, 10 degrees out there. We'll detail the weather forecast again coming up in just a few minutes. It is cited most commonly as people's greatest fear, and that is public speaking. Our next guest actually is an award-winning public speaker named the 2007 World Champion of Public Speaking, but he has not always been a fan of public speaking. He's on the line to tell us how he got through his struggles and how you can as well. His book is called EMOTE, Using Emotions to Make Your Message Memorable. Please welcome Vikas Jingram. Vikas, good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on your program, Paul.
And I appreciate you joining us. You write in your book about how you were an immigrant and English is not your first language. You were an introvert, and so that made getting up in front of a group of people rather difficult.
It did, and like I mentioned in my book, I didn't start that way. It was very difficult for me, and the real reason I started getting interested in presentations was when I came to the U.S., started working in corporate America. I realized that presentation skills and speaking skills are going to hold me back in my professional growth, and that's when I decided to do something about it.
And so, what did you do? What road did you head down to try and improve your speaking skills?
So I tried really everything. I was desperately looking for any kind of programs or courses that would help me improve. Just to give you an idea of where I started, I remember the first speech that I gave. It was a 2-minute speech about introducing myself to a group of people. And I remember that when I got up, my hands were shaking. I had notes prepared, but I was so nervous that I couldn't even read off the sheet of paper. And when it was all done, I really didn't remember a word I had said. I was just happy that it was all over.
Right.
And a lot of people actually are there. I'm not the only one who feels that way when they get up and speak. And so I really decided to do something about it. And I took a lot of courses, got involved with programs, and eventually landed with Toastmasters International. And they have a wonderful program with various Toastmasters clubs in a very structured way. They develop speaking skills. And that's where I started. And then I really took that on, worked very hard at it, and in 2007 was fortunate enough to then win the World Championship of Public Speaking.
That's fantastic. What is it about emotion that you think people should incorporate in speaking? Because I think it's counterintuitive. A lot of people want to keep their emotions in check. But you say emotion can actually help.
That's true. You're absolutely right. In fact, most people fear showing emotions because I feel they think that emotions will take over and they would not be able to control them, and that is a great fear. But here's what I learned when I started to develop myself as a speaker. I started to realize that really a speech is nothing else but a back and forth of information and emotion. And all the things that we usually associate with speaking and presentation, stories, eye contact, gestures, vocal variety, are really just tools to help us transfer information and emotion. So what a speaker really needs to do is to understand this back and forth of emotion that is happening during a speech and be able to control that. And once they are able to understand that emotional dialogue that happens whenever you deliver a speech, they are on their way to becoming fantastic speakers.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting because you don't want to let your emotions get the better of you, or like you said, when you were nervous. I mean, that can take over. But what you want to do is inject something that will connect with your audience, right?
You're absolutely right. And what connects is that emotional piece. I believe that people will not remember a word you say. They will not remember the gestures that you do in front of them. What they will really remember is how you make them feel. And that's the one thing that they take back well after you're gone, is that feeling that they felt when you were speaking. Mm-hmm. And as long as they can get that and you can leave them with some strong emotions, you will deliver memorable speeches.
So, what's your advice just for somebody who maybe finds themselves in a situation where they do have to make a lot of presentations? What are some simple things that they could start to include?
So the first thing, of course, is if they are nervous and they are fearful, then they need to get over that. And the best way probably to get over that is to practice. what happens when you're scared is that it's all about you. You're feeling, oh, I will mess up when I get up and speak. People will laugh at me. I'll make a mistake. It's all about you. And when it's all about you, you cannot have a dialogue with the audience. So speech in many ways is a dialogue because there's a back and forth of emotion. And that emotional dialogue is the key part of a speech. That is the one thing that a speaker needs to develop. And to be able to do that, they have to really be in the moment, to be able to absorb the emotions that the audience is sending towards them, and then be able to understand and incorporate facets in their speaking that have that emotional dialogue. So a lot of pictures help. It really helps with the flow of emotions. A lot of stories help. That really helps with the flow of emotions. Eye contact helps because eye contact is one of the best ways in which people show emotion. And those are the tools that a speaker needs to then incorporate in their speeches so that the emotional dialogue is possible.
Yeah, it's we are in a society that communicates endlessly, but mostly electronically. That one-on-one communication, whether it's talking to a group of a dozen people or 1,200, those skills are certainly sought after, aren't they?
They are, and actually, you bring up a very interesting point that I've been struggling with a lot. Is what is changing in the way now that we communicate, which is, as you mentioned, it's a lot of it is electronic, a lot of it is not face to face. That whole emotional element is somehow getting lost, and that is going to change the way we communicate and how emotions are evoked in us, how people understand emotions during a communication via email is different than when it's face to face. And that's a very interesting question that I'm sure a lot of work will be done in the next few years.
Oh, absolutely, no doubt about it. Well, Vikas, we appreciate your time this morning. Do you have a website? I know the book is called EMOTE. Do you have somewhere online where we can find you as well?
Sure. You can always go to my website. It's www.vikaschingran.com. Or the book has details about my background as well. And again, you mentioned it's called EMOTE, using emotions to make your message memorable.
All right. Vikas, thanks so much for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Paul. Thanks for having me on your program.
You bet.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.